Vaccine, 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 vaccine. I'm begging of you people, take a stand.
Okay, my name's Greg Giannis. I am an artist and an educator. Activism been an ongoing thing for me for many years, and also as an artist I've been practicing for probably about 25 years or so, and my bread and butter is really in education, which I also take very seriously.
My name's Tessa. I go by pronouns she, her. I'm a final year medical student at the University of Melbourne in Australia, and I've been involved with UAEM for about 4 years through the university.
My name is Danny, and I'm on the East Coast in the United States, and I am also an artist activist, and I am a volunteer with the Free the Vaccine campaign. And I would like to ask you guys some questions today about what you have been working on, which is so cool. So can you tell me a little bit about how this project is culture specific, how this works really well in Australia?
Okay. We kind of had a fairly intense brainstorming session, probably around week 7 or 8. Was it, Tessa, that we kind of had a real kind of brain dump? And it was partly inspired by the Avram video, where he sort of spoke about different strategies that activists use to try and engage populations. And we really started thinking about the vernacular and what were the things particular to Australian audiences that we could appeal to, and just started playing around with silly ideas. And one thing led to another, and we kind of started coming across the idea that in Australia's kind of quite well known in its tourist sort of industry for having these big statues. We have the big banana and a big pineapple and a big crab and a big shrimp, and different parts of Australia that seem to be remembered for these kind of quite kitsch big things that appear on many postcards. And we thought, hey, why don't we do something like that? And so the syringe idea also came about from my own knowledge of different art practices and the idea of using waste material to create inflatables. And so suddenly the two ideas came together. Why don't we create a giant syringe? Leveraging on the idea of big things in Australia and also the work of other artists working with waste materials and inflatables. And so those kind of ideas converged. And it was kind of a moment we both kind of went, yeah, let's go for it. So we just started mocking up a few things. Everybody seemed to like the idea. And I, for my own kind of personal work, I'd always wanted to try something like this, but it never really had a reason or an excuse to sort of do it. And so that also gave me the opportunity to try something that I've been wanting to do for a long time.
I was just going to say, we played around with lots of different slang and sort of cultural references, things from TV and movies that were local to Australia. But the idea of something big was not only going back to all those other big things in Australia, but it's something that even if you don't get that reference, it's simple and eye-catching and attention-grabbing.
Yeah, that actually kind of leads me to my next question is, do you think that this would work well in other communities and in other cultures?
Me personally, yes, I think it would, because I'm familiar with a number of projects that I've seen in different parts of the world which kind of utilize this idea of a giant inflatable. I can't think of the artist's name offhand, but there was one in particular that really stands out. And this artist floated a giant rubber ducky in different ports around the world. And it was much loved. Wherever it toured, people flocked to see it. People really loved it and connected to it. So given that sort of experience, I think it would possibly resonate with other other places in the world. This idea of giant inflatables, I think, has appeal across the world. I guess inflatables are something that, as toys, many people can connect with. They appear in many different kind of guises and forms, as swimming devices, as kids' toys, and the idea of a giant object, I think is probably something that happens all around the world in terms of iconic sculptures and monuments and so on. So yeah, I think it would work in other parts of the world as well.
Can you talk a little bit about the element of humor and the element of surprise that you guys went that route? Because some people want to make you cry, you know, some people, some storytellers, artists, activists, they want to get their audience crying, but you guys kind of took a different route. So can you elaborate a little bit too on why you felt like that tactic would be really effective?
I think, and this is something that I think we've spoken about a lot in the campaign, and some of the videos and sort of the things that we've been taught along the way has been about, or maybe catching people, you know, catching flies with honey, not vinegar, and trying to at least initially establish sort of a positive rapport with the people that you're trying to reach. I think particularly at the moment in the pandemic, and you know, people are saturated with all of these terrible images and these worries and lots of sort of negative news. And I think if we wanted to grab attention, and not just grab the attention, but keep that attention and be something different in people's minds, you want it to be positive and something where people feel like they can take a positive action rather than perhaps just inspiring more of that same fear that I think a lot of people are feeling at the moment.
Yeah. Humor is powerful. I think, you know, humor is a way to get people to pay attention and to get on board in ways that other forms of kind of appealing to emotions isn't able to do. And there's lots of examples of different forms of activism that have used humor as a way of engaging people. Like there's a strong tradition here in Australia of kind of satire, in kind of political satire, and it's usually very, very funny, and that engages a lot of people more so than other types of activism, I suspect. I think this is one of the ideas behind the Centre for Artistic Activism, that being that we've got to look at new ways of engaging audiences, because some of the old methods have become a bit tiring for people, or mundane, or the kind of fatigue of being hit over the head with issues and problems all the time, and looking at other ways of engaging people. So I think humour is something that's kind of a really important way of getting people to connect with an issue without having them feel as though they're being kind of told how to behave or what to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I also really like what you said, Tessa, about how we're so used to quite depressing news right now. So it's nice when there's a giant syringe somewhere in the news. I don't know yet, maybe. Well, thank you guys so much for elaborating on your work. And I'm so excited to see when it actually gets when it actually gets on the lawn with the clock tower and everything.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can sometime in the future do a second video with y'all to get another update on what's happening. But till then, thank you guys again for being here today, and best of luck.
Thank you, Danny.
Thanks, Danny.
Thanks.